As a professional developer and a freelancer, I've had the chance to work with many different people in many different projects. Some of them have been successful, some of them have failed. After the ones that have failed, I've always tried to reflect and find some of the actions I could have done differently or some of the things I could have improved. But in the end, I usually always tend to blame others for some of their mistakes. Such mindset of mine was challenged when I read a book called Extreme Ownership by Leif, Babin and Jocko Willink. That book showed me that in situations where others may have made mistakes, there were probably still things that I could have done to mitigate the risks. In this video, I'd like to tell you what extreme ownership actually is, why it's good for you, and how to use it in order to become a better developer and get to the next level in your career. What is up, guys, and welcome to Developer Habits, a YouTube channel for software engineers interested in growth mindset, developer lifestyle, and technical tutorials. My name is Ketmar, I'm a software engineer from Estonia, and today we are going to talk about extreme ownership. So what is extreme ownership? As the name says, it means taking full responsibility, full ownership for everything that's going on in your life and career. It means not blaming others for your failures. What I could have done differently as the first thing when things go south. Preparing and planning as well as you can. Asking necessary questions from other parties and making sure everyone's on the same page. And most importantly, it means having the humility to admit your mistakes and learn from them. Cool. Why is it needed? Why is extreme ownership good for you? Although there are tons of different reasons, this is the list that I came up with based on my own experience. Firstly, it puts focus on finding solutions instead of blaming. Secondly, it makes you really analyze your failures. It also makes you take an action more often because in order to solve problems you have to take an action. Extreme ownership also encourages to plan ahead and really go in detail of what you want to achieve. It also forces you to ask questions from other people connected to your plan or project because you don't want to have any unknowns. Extreme ownership also helps you with building trust with other people because you're humble and willing to admit your mistakes. And finally, extreme ownership also makes you more humble because you understand that even with a great plan and details and all the knowledge you have, failures will occur. But there's a question. How can a regular developer implement or utilize extreme ownership in their everyday life? There are many different answers to that, but now I'm just going to bring some of the examples where I have tried to utilize extreme ownership and where it's been beneficial. Let's say that you see that the code quality in your team's projects is too low. This is a perfect time to start with yourself, to make sure that the code that you produce is up to the standards that others can learn from it, that it's well covered with tests and so on. You can also raise the discussion in the team about how to improve the code quality and maybe even automate some of the routines like requiring a certain number of pull request approvals for pull requests, or that unit tests are run every time a pull request is made. Now let's say that you are joining a software project as a developer and there are some architectural decisions that you do not agree with. This is the place where you can go to the architects and ask why some of those decisions were made. If you still don't agree with what they reply to you, you can always do some extra research and come back with an evidence. But remember, it's not about being right or being wrong. It's about making the best decisions and leaving emotions out of it. Another great situation where a developer can embrace extreme ownership is when there are too many inexperienced developers in the team. This is the place where a more experienced developer can go and help the inexperienced developers by pair programming or giving them the tasks that one knows will help the less experienced developers. It's also a great way to show your teammates that you are someone that can be relied upon. Oh, and bugs. If you or someone else produces a bug, don't start blaming around. Just find a solution and after that, start analyzing what went well, what went bad. You can write a post-mortem or incident report and let it be an example for you and others so everybody can learn from it. Another situation where extreme ownership can be utilized is when you are starting a new project based on some business requirements. This is the place where you, as a developer, must ask all the questions that come to your mind regarding business goals or technical goals. Because if you take the mindset of extreme ownership, it's up to you to make sure that the project will go as planned. And it's also up to you to let the business people know if something is not feasible. Oh, and about project managers. If you see them having hard time with scoping a project, help them by asking business questions, by coming up with different solutions and not giving unrealistic promises. And last example, if you are a developer about to lead a project, then it's up to you to make sure that all the members of the team, developers, PMs, designers, and so on, understand the business goals, the technical goals, the deadlines, and the priorities. What are the routines for testing and how to make the project a success. I could go on and on bringing different examples of how a regular developer could utilize extreme ownership in order to improve their career. In the end, my main message is that if you don't like something or you see that others are making mistakes, then still, the first thing you should do is look in the mirror and ask yourself, what can I do about that situation? I've given you tons of examples of how extreme ownership could be utilized when you are a regular developer. But how can it improve your career? I will bring you an example from my own experience. I was working as a junior front-end developer, although in our team, all the developers were expected to do full stack development. One day, I took a task about doing some changes to our API system, and I saw that the state of the controllers and API logic could be improved a lot. I took the liberty of refactoring most of it, and when I gave it to review, one of the more senior developers asked me if I wrote that code, because this is definitely not the kind of code that juniors write. 1 month later, I was promoted. This is where I want to say, if you see problems or something you don't like, change it, take an action. If you make a mistake, fix it and be transparent about it, analyze it so that others could also learn from it. Eventually, by being proactive and by taking responsibility, other people around you will notice it and new opportunities will come. And this is it, guys, my video on extreme ownership. My main message is that you should be in control of your life. If you want something to be done, take action, be proactive. If things go bad, then look in the mirror. Don't blame others. Don't take the victim mindset, because in that way you will be wasting time that could otherwise be used to find solutions. And trust me, as a developer, there are tons of problems to be solved. Last but not least, if you want to learn more about extreme ownership, then I strongly recommend you reading Extreme Ownership by Jocko, Willink, and Leif, Babin. It's a book that gives tons of tips about extreme ownership, communication, team leading, and so on, that will eventually help you also become a better developer. With that said, I thank you for watching. If you have your ideas or experiences regarding ownership, then leave it in the comment section below. See ya! With great power comes great responsibility. What can you do to improve the world around you?